What's up, you guys? I'm Tori, and today we're going to be sitting with the co-founders of Solen, Jeremy and Ryan. This is Vibe Check.
Vibe Check, episode 1.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Vibe Check. I'm Tori Lancaster, and I'm super blessed to be sitting with these two legends, Ryan and Jeremy. This is powered by Sullen Clothing, and yeah, man, super blessed to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's an honor. Yeah, I really just want to drop in and learn about how this all started, because you guys inspire so many people and so many different cultures, and you know, I want to know the story.
I think we should go from the very beginning.
When is that?
Let's go even before people even have heard from us before. You know, Jeremy and I have known each other for a very long time. I think the first time that we ever kind of linked up was in Little League. So we were probably, I don't know, 9 or 10 at the time. We went to the same elementary school, but we weren't really, we didn't really link up until a little later. But we did link up once on a team that your mom coached. That's, yeah. And so that was kind of where our relationship started. It was all the way back in Little League when we were very young.
You guys have been a team for that long.
Hey, that part right there, too, that's like straight out of what was that one movie, Wildcats? Like the coach backed out, and my mom, who knows nothing about baseball, stepped in as the head coach. So my mom's coaching a bunch of boys, doesn't know a damn thing about baseball. That could be a movie all on itself. But yeah, it was our senior year when we hit it off and really became friends.
Yeah, because I ended up moving to Arizona like right when I started middle school. So like October of 1988, my parents said, hey, we're shipping off to Arizona. And so I spent my formative years in Arizona and built relationships out there. And I've always stayed in contact with Jeremy's best friend, Eric Maurer, and that whole group. And I was always like really, I followed them throughout my whole junior high and high school. And so like when we all started getting of that age, we kind of travel and stuff, like when we reconnected, I ended up coming out to California right after I graduated high school. And that's where me and Jerry like really clicked again. Was
Backyard barbecue.
Yeah, and like so my buddy Eric said, hey, there's a backyard barbecue, you know, everybody's gonna be there, you should cruise over. And then like we clicked right away at that point. So at that point I think we were 18.
You're like, cruise to Catalina with us.
Well, yeah, that was a crazy story.
Yeah.
We can't really talk about, but
yeah, I want to Catalina this weekend. Want to go? Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, we had a blast. It was a lot of fun, and I spent a lot of time like singing the praises of Arizona, because Arizona's a fun town.
Yeah.
And I built a bunch of really solid relationships, and you know, I really wanted my California friends to kind of come experience that. So I ended up after Catalina, I invited Jerry and Eric to come out to Arizona and party with my clique out there.
My first time snowboarding was actually Arizona, crazy enough.
Wow.
Snowball, yeah, Flagstaff.
Yep. And then like we would, just kind of get to know each other even more, because, you know, there wasn't that daily connection, you know, but then like
we'd go visit you, you'd come visit us. Now we had like, you know, always in another state. So go party.
So what happened on the island stayed on the island.
Yeah.
And then the vibe just completely started to flow.
Yeah.
And was there any business talks, or was it just like homie, just backyard chilling?
Yeah, I don't think any of us really knew what we wanted to do yet. You know, I think at that point, I started tattooing when I was 19, and that was right around the time that I reconnected with Jeremy. So, you know, like, so when I would come to visit, like, I would bring my tattoo stuff, and we would like have like parties where I could tattoo people. And,
That's sick.
You know, and you know, and I think they had such a good time, you know, coming to Arizona, that like I convinced Jeremy to come and move to Arizona for a little while. I was like, hey, you got to come out here. You know, there's a good scene. And so actually him and Eric moved out to Arizona. I want to say when you were 19.
I was 18. I was younger. I was younger for my grade. I went out there, and like growing up in Southern California, I think it's a little bit more territorial here. And then I go out here and hang out with his friends, you know, and you go walk up to this backyard party, and everyone's like, hey man, what's your name? Here's a cup, there's a keg. And I'm like, whoa, these guys are cool as hell, you know? Whereas if someone came to our backyard party that we didn't know, we'd be like, who are you? Where are you from? Who invited you? Kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah, shout out to all the AZ homies out there.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I mean, even for me growing up in the desert, you know, I also grew up in Huntington Beach back and forth. Whole different vibe. Like you said, more territorial, cliquey. Desert people are like, doors open, come in the back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it started there, and then did Ryan tattoo you, or like what really hit it?
Well, I had a crazy ex-girlfriend that I needed to get away from. So I had a number of reasons where I'm like, you know what? I need to dip out of California. Went out there. He helped me get a job. I was cleaning pools, driving a black Ford Ranger with no air conditioning in the summertime. And it was short-lived. We were out there for, I think, 4 months. And we had just wrong place at the wrong time kind of a situation, dude. We had this dude on Halloween night shoot up our front door with 22 rounds with his Tech 9 Uzi. So me and Ryan had a crazy night where 4 of us were living in an apartment. These dudes, it was a big apartment complex, so you didn't know everybody. But yeah, these guys were on a sick one, and they got in a scrap with one of our roommates and said some gangster shit, came back and shot up through the front door. So, you know, we're all like plugging bullet wounds and stuff.
And where was the gunman?
They never came inside. They shot through the door, and they were asking them to open the door. They went to open the door, and then they just started firing bullets into the door.
You know, there was 11 people in that line of fire, and 3 of them were shot.
Yeah.
And so, and thankfully, like, the door was closed and locked, which it never really was. But, like, we had the forethought after that scrap that we were like, hey, there was just something not right. You know what I mean? And, and so everybody came inside, and I don't know, a few minutes later, you hear the knock, and I think Jeremy was, like, right about to open the door when they shot. So he was literally in front of the door as they sprayed the bullets through the front door. And somehow he wasn't shot. And what's crazy is that, you know, like a week later, or like shortly thereafter, you know, you're kind of, you know, going through your stuff, and he found the sweatshirt he was wearing, and there was a bullet hole through the arm.
Oh my God.
Like, he put it on.
Like straight out of Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. I went to answer the door, and I felt like I was like a foot away, and they started shooting. Pop, 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 pop. So I'm seeing the brains get shot up, you know, and I turn to run, and I go to run around the corner, but all 3 dudes behind me all got riddled with bullets. They got shot, and for some reason, I was missed. You know what I mean? But yeah, I had bullet holes going in and out of the sweatshirt, just like this that I was wearing, in and out.
Like, you put it on, and you're like, how does it not hit you?
Yeah. It looked like what's in my arm.
It was the craziest
So
thing.
they literally knocked on the door.
Yeah.
Whoever was inside was going to completely just it.
Get
They jumped
annihilated.
one of our roommates. Our roommate Ross stumbled in, and then everyone ran out and kind of whooped their ass. And they sent a bunch of gangster shoots, you know. Yeah. And I was sleeping. I was fighting the food.
I was sleeping too. I was in my boxers.
Everyone
I was
came
like,
out.
where are you at my front
Jeremy,
door?
get up. We just got in a fight. And we were on the verge of getting kicked out because we partied a lot. And they told us, the front office told us, if you get one more noise complaint, you guys are out of here. We had to sign paperwork and everything. So I wake up like, what's going on? Guys, we're going to get kicked out. Ross, be quiet, Ross. Like, fuck this place. I'm out of here. I'm like, guys, calm down. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, see, there's Paula, the security guard.
Paula.
I go to answer the door. Pop, 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 pop. So I was up like 30 seconds, and then I'm dodging bullets. Oh, man. All of our friends survived. You know what I mean? Like, they all got, I mean, some of them still got the bullets in them. Yeah. We were on every news channel. We had SWAT team, K9s, you know, in detectives' custody. The dude ended up getting 12 years, but with that happening, my mom was, you know, in the car driving there the next day, like, you're getting your ass home. So that was short. That was the end of my Arizona living. You know what I mean?
So AZ was done, and then you went back.
I went home. He got his apprenticeship tattooing, but then he got accepted to the Art Center in Pasadena,
Wow.
which brought him back to California. So now he's in California going to school. Luckily he's got our group of friends, you know, that he knows. So even though he's in Pasadena, we're in Orange County. You know, the relationship continued.
Every weekend when I had like a day off, because I would go to school from Monday through Friday, and then I would have homework until, you know, Friday until about 5 or 6 at night. And then I would cruise out to go see them. I'd usually get there about, you know, 9 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock. We'd, you know, party, do whatever. I'd stay maybe for Saturday. Sometimes I left on Saturday. I usually only had about a day or so that I could kind of get away. And then it was through those times coming back to visit that like the whole idea of Solen started to come around, because as I'm going to school, you know, I originally went to school to do animation, and the more I did it, the more I realized that's not something I wanted to do full time. And so I started thinking like, oh, what do I want to do with my life? And I've always been intrigued and fascinated by apparel and like just graphics. Like, growing up in Southern California, you're surrounded by apparel brands, like we saw, Volcom come up and Quicksilver, and Black Flies was a big one for us, and seeing how they grew, and so those types of, being exposed to that kind of stuff, it kind of draws you into it, at least for me. And so, we started kicking around the idea. I started kicking around the idea when we would just be, in the backyard, hanging out, drinking beers. And, I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And then one like day after we were done partying, my buddy comes up to us and he's like, hey man, you're talking about that brand. He's like, why don't we do it? And so it was really the three of us that kind of were like the ones say, okay, yeah, we're going to give this a shot, and, at that point we didn't even have a name yet. We were still kind of floating around these ideas. And, when I was in school, like one of my assignments was to design this comic book cover. I was learning Photoshop and how to color in Photoshop, and I titled the comic book Sullen, and I did this crazy lettering, and and it was always one of those names that was kind of in the back of our mind, but we weren't like dead set on it yet, and then as we're sitting there, just like, I had notebooks filled with names, and our buddy goes, hey man, like that comic book cover you did, that was pretty cool. Like, it looked cool. Why don't we use that? And I was thinking, well, it's not the look of the thing that I was liking. And the more I started thinking about the word and what it meant, for me, like some of the key things that like draw to me to a name of a brand is mystery, right? So if you don't necessarily know what it means, to me, there's like a payoff, right? Because it's like if you said, I have chair clothing, like it's obvious what it is, and so, the more I started thinking about the word Solen and its ambiguity, it's not like regularly used in sentences. And so there's this kind of, it's like you're finding something out. It's like you're learning something that other people don't know, because especially in the early days, a lot of people would come up to us. They're like, what is that? Are you guys a band? Like, what are you? And like, when we started hearing that, like it gave us more faith in what we were doing, because like, it's that payoff. It's like, oh, now I know, now I'm a part of something that like really drew us to the word Solen, because like on its merit, like the word doesn't really define what we do very much, but there were just a few things that like about it that kind of resonated enough for us to stick with it. Like it's an even number of letters. It's a word that wasn't readily identifiable. The definition of it does kind of speak to the like art that we were into, dark and gloomy and all that. So like there was enough there to where we were like, yeah, this is what we want to go with.
So was there like a moment that you saw Solen somewhere and you're like, what does that mean? And you look it up, like,
honestly, I found the word like digging through a dictionary, and then and I was just like, because at the time we had to come up with this name, and like artistically, I'm always driven to things that are darker and mysterious and duality and all that stuff. So like when I stumbled across it and I read the definition, I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty cool word, and so, and at the time I just thought it was for that assignment,
It's hanging up in my office.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a comic book cover, and he's got me in a leather jacket holding a gun with my hat on backwards, and then another one of our friends looking like a superhero. So we're the cover,
Yeah.
and it's named Solen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't remember who said it, but just like, what about that right there? What about Solen?
Do you still have the leather jacket, or?
No.
Let me tell you.
At the time it was like back when, this is early Photoshop. This is back in 1999.
How old were you guys at this time now? Like 20?
I was 20.
Well, no, the brand started in 2001, and we were, I think, 25.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. That was when I started.
24 maybe?
But like building up,
yeah.
like Ryan's like
I was 24
apprenticing,
actually.
you're, hustling, getting your feels, and then how did how did it really start to like generate, obviously from people seeing, you know, the logo, but was there like a moment or something that you collabed with? Or
I think we took a page out of Black Fly's book. Once we decided, hey, this is a cool name. Ryan liked it as the artist, and he designed all the, you know, of course, all the logos and everything. We made stickers before we made product. So we absolutely destroyed Southern California with stickers. We'd go on sticker missions in the middle of the night from the Mexican border all the way up to Santa Barbara, all the way to Arizona border. We would drive in the middle of the night. We'd hit up every on-ramp, off-ramp. Like literally, we'd stop on freeways. Everyone's running out, boom, 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 boom. You know, like we did this for years.
But like every weekend, we would make a conscious decision. Hey, at 11 o'clock, we're on the road. We're hitting up every, you know. And so like for us, that was like, you know, this was back when there was no social media, no other way to do it. So like we learned from like Lush Eyewear too is a big one. Like Lush and Black Flies were the first ones that really kind of just hammered stickers everywhere. And we just felt like, you know, like recognizing something over and over again makes you comfortable with it. You know, you're like, even if you don't remember seeing it or don't remember where you came across it, like if you did see somebody wearing it, you're like, oh, I saw a sticker on that one. And like obviously a lot of people were, you know, but it was literally like, it was a pretty big crew, but usually we would go out with like 4 to 6 dudes, maybe 2 cars, maybe 1. And we would just, you know, for hours just hit up. I mean, we'd probably go through a couple hundred stickers a night.
Our backpacks would be filled with sticker backs. But that's when people was like, what is it? We used to hear it all the time. Are you guys a band? You know? But then when we finally came out with the product, and how many designs did you come out with first? Like
4. I think there was 4 or 5.
So if there's 4 or 5 shirts and you got 10 dudes, some of us were wearing similar shirts. You know
we were all wearing the same shirt.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
with different colors, but we're all wearing a uniform. So everywhere we went, we were seen, and we had a big group of friends that you know supported and backed each other. And we were younger, and we were partying more, and we were out and about. You know, so like at first, this was another chapter. We were throwing so many parties, and we were in the bar scene that people started saying like, "What are you guys? Are you guys like a party crew, or you guys?" And then we're like, "Oh no, we don't want to be known as that." No, you know, so we were trying to find ourselves.
Well,
right.
The thing is like, when you have no money, like we started with no money, you have to figure out how do you market, right? How do you get your name out there? And so at the time, we were at the age, we were 25, all of our friends wanted to go out. So we would negotiate with these promoters and say, look, like, we'll promote the shit out of the show. We'll bring hundreds of people, but we want them all to get in for free. We don't want a penny. We just want to make sure that when somebody's wearing Solen, they feel like a king and they get walked right in. They get in early entrance. They don't pay for anything.
Yeah, VIP wristband.
Yeah, and so then we get our name on the back of the flyer, you know, and then we would hook up our friends. And so for us, we had these connections with these promoters. We had a big group of friends that liked to party. So like for us, it was like a win-win. Like we get to hook up our friends who are supporting the brand. We get our, you know, the brand to be recognized more. We did that for years. We were doing events just about every weekend. At least once a month, we would do a big one. You know, when you're young and scrappy, you have to find ways. You have to find ways to be visible outside of like traditional media because we didn't have the money to afford that stuff. We couldn't afford, you know, magazine ads or, you know, back in the day, that's what you would do. And so you just have to like, you know, figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
You know?
You guys were definitely marketing the right way. I feel like even when I was growing up, I feel like all the cool, you know, older figures were all rocking Solen. Like you could feel that kind of click. And then you wanted to know more about it. Yeah. You know, and I still feel like that's the way it is today. So the culture was built by just being connected, you know, belief. Yeah. And how did it go though more into like culture to brand with the tattooing? Were you the only tattooer in the group at the time?
Yeah, and I think like as you get older, you know, you're kind of like priorities change, you know, and as we were starting to kind of phase out of wanting to go out all the time, you know, and we were like really making it more about the business. And like, you know, for a lot of the early years, you know, we were struggling to even define ourselves because people wanted to define us. And like we were coming up, you know, with the rise of moto, you know, and our stuff has always been on the darker side. So we got lumped in as a moto brand. And although we like appreciated that lifestyle and there was a lot of crossover, like deep down, we didn't feel like we were moto because we weren't professional riders. We weren't, you know, we weren't doing it so much that was our lifestyle. you know, and it wasn't until, I think it was 2005. We were about 5 years into Solen, and we were already kind of going more and more into tattoo art, you know, and, you know, the first time where it really clicked was when we were at Muse Inc., and we set up our first booth at a tattoo convention. And at the time, there wasn't apparel brands at tattoo conventions, so we were kind of like blazing a trail, so to speak, you know. So we were like, hey, let's give it a shot, you know. If it works, great. If it doesn't, but like A, we sold a ton of product, and B, you know, we're looking around being like, these are our people. You know what I mean? Like, they're wearing Dickies, they got black shirts on, they're really cool. You know what I mean? Like, like tattooers by large are just a really good group of, you know, of people. You know, they're all artistic, they're all creative. And, you know, I told Jeremy, I was like, hey man, I'm like, this is it. You know, this is our audience. I said, we're going to live or die by this group. So I was like, we need to, you know, get away from everything else, and this is our focus.
Wow. That's
You know?
insane. Jeremy, were you like, yeah? Or were you like, no?
No, like he said, we had never sold so many shirts. Like, I don't remember what year it was. I mean, we could do the math. Ryan's been tattooing for 25 plus years. So us being as tight as we was, I learned that the tattoo culture, and I started becoming a fan. So all of a sudden when you got Rick Walters and Corey Miller and these people coming up to booth, and we're like, dude, you want a shirt? You know, and they're being cool as hell. And of course we became, you know, good friends with them more later on down the years, but a little bit of starstruck, but at the same time, we were being accepted. They liked Ryan's artwork, you know, because at the time it was all Ryan's art.
Right.
And they were digging it. Like, and like Ryan says, like, it's always had kind of a tattoo aesthetic. Even if we weren't a tattoo brand, it always still had a look because, you know, one of the owners is sitting there designing it, and he's a tattooer.
Yeah. And the first shirts that we ever got into big box retail, they were tattoo driven pieces. It's just that we hadn't put the connection together that lifestyle was supportable. You know what I mean? Like, the artwork was always there, but we didn't know that there was a lane, because like for us, traditional retail was Zoomies, Tilly's, PacSun, you know, and so we didn't really realize that there was a way for us to define a new path, you know. And once we, you know, kind of saw that like there was this avenue for us, we just kind of went all in. And we were really lucky that a lot of our early relationships ended up being with, you know, artists who ended up becoming incredibly famous. And, you know, we did kind of all ride a wave together, you know, which definitely helped us in our exposure globally. Because, you know, these like at the time hot up and comers like Nico and Carlos and Big Gus and all the young tattooers from Southern California, and they were all a little bit like in their own clique. But what was cool too is like through like Jeremy and myself, and like we became like the Switzerland of a lot of these artists. So a lot of them weren't hanging out together before like we came along, and it was cool because then we could introduce artists to other artists. And so then like, and then it just became this like really big clique of especially in the early days, where it was like a lot of artists now were like, oh yeah, I love your work, and then next thing you know, they're all hanging out.
And we still had the love of all the local promoters and models and athletes. So we were still throwing good parties, bringing these guys to the parties. We're all having a great time. We're getting all that VIP love. So we had a lot of good times.
Yeah, because we've always been putting in work, and the brand was like, in our eyes, successful from the get, although not like incredibly financially, but it was always, you know, like from the start, we were good, like growth.
Right.
You know, and so like by the time we ended up entering the tattoo world, we were probably at least 5 or 6 years deep. And so like when we brought them into the world that we had, they were like, oh, this is a lot of fun. You know, we get walked into these events and we get treated really good. And so it was just like, it was like the perfect timing. It's opportunity meets preparation. And for us, it's like, you can't rush anything if you're going to do it right. And that's the thing that we've always stressed is like patience. You know what I mean? You can't chase trends. You have to just go with what like nature provides, you know. And we found that like if you try to push something or if you try to force something, it ends up killing it.
Right.
And so we knew that like we just had to be patient and that our time would come, you know. And so
and we still believe that way. We still are like, everything that we do, it has to make sense. Any avenue that we go down, the core of it has to be tattoo, know? And so does this seem like it would fit? And if it does, then we say yes. And however long that takes to grow, we're patient,
Right.
Fast forward X amount of years, now we work with over 700 tattooers from all over the world.
Wow.
And I mean, that's a storytelling we're telling every day, as all these guys.
Because you guys, I mean, obviously are such a lifestyle brand, and this whole Solen logo, it definitely is just like this global enterprise where it's just all friend culture based, so.
Well, like, look at all the tattoos you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's this lifestyle out there that a lot of people don't understand. You and I both are working on a bodysuit. I only got a couple spots left and my body's done. I'm doing a bunch of blastovers now and touching up old tattoos, but people like being a part of something. And there's that world out there of these people that love getting tattooed. I mean, you and I know, all of us know, you get a tattoo and you feel just a little bit better walking out the door after that tattoo.
It's so funny. Like people are like, oh, don't ruin your body, and you just see these like, beautiful just designs and these exquisite like places and churches, and it's all just murals. And for me, it's like when I get tattooed, I feel better about myself, but I think it's perceived at like other places and worlds like that they're bad and it's negative. And that's how I actually feel even wearing the brand too, is like it gives me that feeling that, I feel good, and there's not a lot of people that understand that unless you are in it the way I think we all are. And I think the more people that can come into that and understand like the culture is much more than just getting a tattoo and that's it. It's like we wear it and then we also wear it in a different way of just connecting like this.
Yeah, and we have a family vibe. We're blessed to have this worldwide family that looks out for each other. You know what I mean? Like if any of us flew to a lot of countries, we'll have a friend there waiting for us at the airport to pick us up, let us sleep on their couch or whatever. Like we got a worldwide brotherhood that looks out for each other. And
or Jeremy's over in LAX doing the same thing from dudes coming over here.
Yeah. But I mean, we use all of our platforms to try to promote from within, you know what I mean? So like all the artists, anyone that we work with, we're trying to pump their name out there as much as possible. Ryan and I, we never really wanted like attention or wanted to be the faces or be out and about. It was more business mentors of ours pushing us and telling us, no, they need to know a face behind the brand. But otherwise, we've never been fame hungry. We've always wanted to push the artists, you know what I mean? But I get it. The people out there, they want to know who's behind the brand and if they're, good people. And
right. Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to know too, as well, because there's so many artists that wear it. There's not a brand in my eyes out there that all artists relate, because it can be very cliquey from what I've experienced. It's like an ego-based environment, but you guys have somehow cracked the code to be cool with everybody.
Well, I think the thing is like everybody has their differences, and we just feel like it's their differences with them, and like we try really hard to not get involved in any of it. Like it's okay if this guy doesn't like that guy, but like we don't get into those things. It's like we try very carefully to like make sure that our relationships are based on our experiences. Like if there's an artist and he's a dick to me, then I don't like him for that reason, not because this person was this way to that person, And so it's like that way, our opinions are based on personal experience, not someone else's. And I think like that's kind of like unspoken. It's just kind of how we've grown up, is that's kind of how we've always operated, is that like, Jeremy is probably one of the easiest people to get along with. And I think that does help us a lot, because like, you'd be hard pressed to find a relationship that went south with him, and so that does help us to, because he's definitely more visible and out there more. And I think that the part that people may or may not realize is that his heart is so genuine. Like, like it's not a mean bone in his body to where it's really easy for him to have those relationships, because deep down inside, like he is genuinely the cheerleader for just about anybody. You know, and sometimes that's to his detriment, because sometimes I'm like, Jeremy, you need to let this guy go, dude. Like, no, man, I gotta, you know, like, it's like the amount of times that he gives people a pass, I'm like, wow, you're a lot more patient and forgiving than I ever could be.
Yeah, but that's amazing, because, I mean, I've always felt that in his presence since I was young, you know, but that's amazing when it comes to like the brand and all the people you guys have impacted, because you get to lead that way in a different culture. You know,
yeah, man, we got, like I said, I feel like a lot of brands out there, they're trying to build a family or even throw out the word family, you know, but ours is so real, you know, like we have such a big family that looks out for each other, you know, like, and to be able to dig your roots in, you know, deep like that as a brand, it's pretty freaking awesome, you know. But even going back to like what you're talking about, you know, about people not getting along, then there's the other side of things where, say a tattoo convention, you know, you got this tattooer who just got his first Solen shirt and he's selling his shirt at the booth. Then across the way, someone else has their Solen shirt selling at the booth, and they're like, give each other a nod, you know, like, you know, they have this little bond, you know, like, oh, we're both Solen artists, you know?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're going out to dinner afterwards and exchanging numbers and stuff like that. Like, that's a beautiful thing, you know, bringing people together, you know, and of course, there's a lot of egos out there, you know, we try to dodge the egos as much as possible. And we want to be, you know, surrounded with, you know, like-minded, you know, honest, hardworking, good people.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, do you think it's, I throw out like 700 artists. It's probably like 700 artists
It's
we work with.
between 5 and 7. I mean, I have on my Excel sheet of artists that we've worked with, it's over.
That's crazy.
It's over 500 that I have like documented of like the address, the name, and all of that. But I know that there's at least 100, probably closer to 2 of names that I haven't. Because I mean, you know, over 23 years, you know, and we release so much product, like it does start to become a little harder to kind of like catalog it all.
Right.
You know, I mean, if we really had to try, I mean, it'd be pretty easy to go through all the back catalogs and come up with a hard number.
Sure.
But, you know, of the ones that we have like a number attached to, it's over 500. And, you know, so, I mean, even that to me is pretty cool. But I think the reason is because like, and I'm this way very much, is like, I am such a fan of every artist that we come in contact with. And I want them to get as much exposure and benefit from working from us. And I think that's what fills my tank, is like, especially if it's somebody that, like I say, oh, you only mess with the good artists, you only mess with the whatever. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. Like, I am happy to work with any artist if you have 50 followers or 500,000 followers. If the artwork needs to be seen, I almost appreciate it more when the following count is low, because then I know our impact will be greater.
I love that.
You know, and that's where we find our joy, is being able to go to somebody and be like, man, this artwork is amazing. People need to see it. And then them coming to us and being like, bro, you changed my life. Like, all of a sudden my following went, you know, doubled overnight.
Yeah, 2,000 to 200,000 in a year or two.
Yeah, and you know, because like, you don't really make a ton of money off a t-shirt, you know, but if you scope it out over the long haul, then there's enough to go around. But like, and so that can't be your focus. Your focus has to be something deeper and more meaningful. And so for me anyway, that deeper, more meaningful thing is being able to help other artists and being able to be a conduit for more success for them. And that's why we do things like SullenTV and Instagram, and because I mean, half the posts we do are just promoting other artists.
Right.
You know, because like, and we know that it's a symbiotic relationship. The more we can grow your following, the more it helps us. You know, and I think that at its nexus, that's what our brand is about. Together we rise. I mean, we've always said it when we kind of came up with that. It fits so well because it really encapsulated, you know, the ethos of what we were trying to do.
Right. Well, I'm excited that, you know, we're bringing SullenTV back and really pumping it out, because it is such an amazing brand, you know, that you guys have created. Thank you guys for what you've literally created from scratch.
Dude, I'm so excited for this podcast. You know, like, I'm sure they know by now, you are the host of Vibe Check, you know, so the people that you've already talked about bringing on and the conversations we've already had, like, it's super exciting, which kind of sort of is how we met, you know what I mean? So
right.
John, who used to run SullenTV, shout out to John, he's the one that came up with the Solen Angels. We didn't want to do it, remember?
I think that's where they came from.
Dude, John John was a high school friend, came to us, and he's like, dude, I just got out of film school, you know, let me run your YouTube. And we didn't really have money for it, you know. We're like, if you can get the sponsorship dollars. So he built it. It was his. He's no longer involved, but John did get it on and cracking. He did start the Sullen Angels. And, you know, Erica, which is how we met you, one of our Sullen Angels, you know, and, you know, shout out to your pops. You
Shout out,
know,
yep.
Hopefully we can get him in one of these chairs.
Yeah,
you know?
that'd be hard.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool as hell. Sancho's Tacos, you know, fucking killing it. But technically, that's how we met, you know. And ever since I remember meeting you, I don't know if I remember the first time we met, but I just remember you were always cool as hell, always good vibes. All of us clicked and got along and helped each other out. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing to watch it all come back around, you know, like this. Because your journey right now, like in your business, I see you're killing it.
Thank
you. So it's just like, you know, we were talking about getting the podcast going, and then you made a comment like, you know, to Mai, like, hey, if you guys ever want blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, this is a nice fit.
It was weird how it went. Shout out to Mai too. But I remember just wanting to ask her, like, hey, if you guys ever need anyone to host anything, I don't know where that came from. I've never said anything like that. And here we are, you know, like it's special because it's so hard to do what you guys have done. And there's not a lot of brands out there that have what you've created, really.
It's catching lightning in a bottle, really. Like it's pretty crazy.
It's opportunity meets preparation, right? It's like nothing is by happen chance, but all things have to fit at the right time, at the right moment. Like when you talked about, like, I don't even know why I said it or how it came about. Like I've had so many things in my life that I look back and I'm like, my life should have gone in so many different other paths. You know, like the shooting is one of them, you know? It's like there's so many little things where you're like, wow, it's like you realize like the world is kind of always transpiring to put out whatever you want. And so just by even saying that, like it brought it to you. And I mean, we were thinking about that. So it's weird how like things kind of come together that way, you know?
I've always felt that way though. Like within this, like I've felt accepted and loved, cared for, like really what the brand's about. I've actually really felt that before knowing really much about it. I just, with my dad, of course, like I was always like the young, you know, Grom with like all the big dogs, and I'm just looking up to, you know, everybody, and it was a good environment, but it's also still that way, and it's going to continue to be that way, you know. And
makes me happy to hear.
Yeah. So is there anything that we could look forward to seeing with what's going on with any Solen stuff you can leak out, or is there?
Well, no, I mean, the big one is just us trying to ramp up SullenTV again. I mean, when COVID hit, we kind of shut it down.
Okay.
So it's been a couple years since we've done anything. And so like,
it's stagnant for a few years.
Yeah. So kind of resurrecting it, you know, you kind of want to see what you did right, what you could change, what you could add. And, you know, Vibe Check being one of them and bringing you on board, like it's a major step in the right direction for us, you know, as far as the direction that we want to take SullenTV. And so it's like, I think that is probably the newest thing. And so it obviously is going to have the most excitement for us, and just to see where we could take it, because the way people consume information now is way different than the way it was when we started SullenTV over 10 years ago. So that's going to be fun to navigate, you know. And so it's like all these, it's always fun to learn something new, you know.
Yeah.
And so like being able to do this, having you on as a representative, like, you know, like seeing your story, which I hope you can kind of relay to us too, because like it's always good to see people, you know, climb up from where they were and be able to shine, you know. Why don't you kind of give us a little background, because it's kind of cool for people to know about you and why you're here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here luckily because I really love spreading just love. It sounds kind of cliche, but my dad was such a big cultivator and teaching me to do the right thing and treat people right. And, you know, I grew up more in the Valley and also down in SoCal as well. So I know kind of both sides of the fence. And as time's gone on and as I was kind of raised up with my dad and my mom, you know, my dad started Sancho's, and, you know, with Sancho's, I learned really quickly at communication and people and how to just take care of people, which is how we, you know, obviously know each other. And just fast forward to where I am now, like I just want to put a positive impact on everybody. And I love, you know, being a tattoo collector. I think it's big how we could showcase, like, I want to show people, you know, quality over quantity, and how to focus on like an artist rather focus on like getting a tattoo, you know, like really like focus on who you're investing in and invest, take your time to be happy to invest because it's going to cost some money, you know, rather just getting a tattoo and looking cool. I've always been in the tattoo culture as well, you know, wanting to represent that from all these artists. So with where everything's going to be leading to now, it's like being able to be a part of this is going to just really be special for me because I get to do that even with you guys, you know, and everyone that we bring in here. And it's just an honor, really. I've always wanted to lead that way. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Can't thank you enough. My gut tells me this is going to be great. You know what I mean? So where's the camera over here? We got a lot of podcasts coming up. Tori, you're not going to see Ryan and us out here. This is just the first one to let you guys know what's going on. And then we're going to get back to work, let Tori do his thing. But this podcast, this is going to be the shit.
And we also want to know what you guys want to see. So drop in the comments, you know, like what your questions are, where you want this thing to go, because we want this to be something that you want to consume.
Make sure you subscribe to SullenTV. You know, a lot of the old segments are going to be revamped and brought out, but then we're also going to have a lot of new segments that we're super excited for you guys to see. You know, I mean, I've had so many people, you know, I've had at least 2 or 3 people tell me they learned how to speak English on SullenTV.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like one dude from Chile, another dude from France. You know, like when I was in Taiwan 2 weeks ago, 2 different people, you know, because I was a judge, and they're, you know, I'm a fan of SullenTV. I learned everything I know from SullenTV. You know, I'm just like, that's so cool. I said, well, it's coming back. Yeah, man. That when you ask us what's next, SullenTV. We got a lot of exciting things in the works.
Well, it's a vibe, baby. Let's keep it going. Much love, you guys. Appreciate it.
Till next time.
Till next time.
That was Vibe Check. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you go ahead and comment below on who you guys want to see on the show. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.